Ion shot equipped. Alright, I'll use that, but I've had enough of this mode. I want to try a different one. Okay.
Yeah, I bet you've had enough of it. You got embarrassed in this one, and then the previous one, and the one before that. You're looking for one that doesn't make you look like shit.
I just want to make sure that Leanna's awake. She's not been feeling too well. I want to make sure she's awake because she has to start making dinner. Give me a second. I'll be right back.
Are you fucking kidding me? Did he just say his girlfriend's sick, but he's got to go wake her up to make sure she can cook his fat ass dinner? Holy shit, what an irredeemable piece of crap. Yeah, God, my girlfriend who sells her shitty fucking soap to support my fat ass. She's real sick right now, but I better go make sure she's awake to cook me dinner. Wow, what a champion. Who doesn't want to be his girlfriend? You can hear him in the background. Yeah, wake up, bitch. I need my Hot Pockets.
Okay.
Wow. Why is she fucking this man?
Alright, what do we got next?
God, he coughs more than I do, and I smoke and he doesn't.
Too, right? I think it was.
I really hope somebody can get his original stream and get that segment out of when he says his girlfriend's sick.
Okay,
but he needs to wake her up to get dinner. Did somebody just say she's a gold digger? What gold is she digging? What money does this fat fuck have? His $1,000 on Patreon? She can barely cover rent with that. There's not a lot of gold to dig her in this copper-ass motherfucker.
Egos. Everybody has them. There's an overabundance of egos out there. In fact, if it were a commodity, nobody would buy it, nobody would sell it, and nobody would trade it. Because it's pervasive. It is everywhere. And because it's everywhere, it is utterly worthless. Now, when we examine the internet, what we see is not just egos. We see egos amplified to incredible heights. We see people who become so self-centered and so full of themselves that they believe they are above us. Because don't you dare, I mean, don't you ever dare to offer criticism or feedback. You know, and think of how ballsy these fuckers are. Alright, they will sit there and they'll say, donate money to me, I need money. 5-star my videos, subscribe, comment, favorite all my stuff. And then once you've done that, once you become a statistic to them, once you become part of that base that builds up this ego for them, they turn around and say, fuck you. Fuck you, you're not important. Fuck you, I'm not going to have a dialogue with you. Fuck you, I'm not going to interact with you. You are beneath me. You are not equal to me in any way, and I don't have to respond to you for any reason whatsoever. And, you know, God forbid that you finally do, you know, break free of that, you know, mind control, that cult mentality, and, you know, say, wow, I disagree with this, or, you know, you could have done this better. Because what's going to happen? You are going to get flamed to hell and back. And why are you going to get flamed to hell and back? Because there are two types of fans on the internet. There is the fan who can take it or leave it. They might be a fan of something, they might be subscribed to it, and they'll watch the videos, and they'll like them, and they'll think, oh, that's artsy, or, you know, funny, or whatever the fuck it is that attracted to them in the first place. And then, for whatever reason, if they just stop liking it, they'll walk away. You know, it's a buffet to them. They sample a little bit here, they sample a little bit there, and they're done. On the other hand, are the fanboys. Now, the fanboys I feel sorry for, because not only are they the cause of the problem, they are what perpetuates it. They have allowed, you know, they've built into building up this ego. They have helped to make this person who they are, this egocentric asshole. And then, they actually believe it when the person turns around and tells them, fuck you, you're not important. Now, here you are saying, oh, well, you know, you fucked up in this video, or, oh, you know, you made a wrong reference, or you did something stupid. Whatever. You made a response, and whatever. You're throwing it out there. Maybe it's honest, maybe you're just being a dick, who knows. But you throw it out there. Now, they turn around, because they're sheeple. They're not people, they're sheeple. They turn around and say, fuck you. You know, how dare you insult the master? How dare you come into the house of my God and desecrate it with your unholy bullshit? And so you've got an army of these fuckers to deal with. Because they are so low on the totem pole. They have no self-respect or dignity that they believe it when they're told they're not worth anything. They get these subs, they get these favorites, and they literally measure their self-worth by it. I mean, think of how pathetic that is. Think of how pathetic it is to measure your self-worth by your view count, by your star count, by your sub count. I mean, what kind of life are you leading where that is what you measure your worth by? It's not the deeds you did or the people you know or the things you've done in life, but YouTube, of all fucking things, is how you measure your worth? That's fucking pathetic. It drives me nuts because they have this sense, you know, it's this entitlement that they think they're owed. They think they really are owed this, that we should submit, that we should bow down and recognize their genius, and they will go on rants and tirades about shit. They will blame us for drama. They will blame us for drama, of all fucking things. We didn't start the drama, motherfucker. You did. You did by getting out of control. Me telling you that you're out of control is not the drama. You throwing a fit and sicking your fanboys on me, that's the fucking drama. You're the cause of the drama, motherfucker. Not me. Not people like me, not other people on the internet who disagree with your bullshit. You are the cause of it. Don't turn around and tell me that I don't have a right to respond, or that if I'm doing it, I'm just some troll. And, you know, that's another thing I'd like to raise. People come down on troll saying they're fucking horrible. You know, some of them are. Some are just dicks to be dicks, which is humorous, but a majority of trolls, I think, are the ones who are really tuned into this. They've actually seen through the bullshit. They've seen these people get out of control, and they've decided to knock them down a few pegs. And they, you know, they do it in different ways, but they take shots at them. They take shots at them to chip away at that superego and to drop them down to the, to the level of a normal person. And of course, they, that starts all sorts of shit. That's more drama on the internet. I love that. People throw that word around like it means something, drama. So what? So it's drama. Deal with it, motherfucker. It's the internet. Give me this shit about drama. And don't you dare attack me, you're just starting drama. Like it's some kind of shield. They raise this up like it's a shield to protect their ego. Oh shit, pull the drama shield out, somebody's telling me I'm an asshole. And then, they send their legions of fans after you. Legion of fans who doesn't know they're being treated like shit. But let's just say there are some people on YouTube who I know who have subscribers over 10,000 people, 15,000, 20,000, who intentionally, really think about this, they intentionally rob their fans, their subscribers. They lie to them to get money. They will make up sob stories and bullshit stories, and I actually have proof, fucking proof of this. And they rob their fans. And they'll actually say shit like, they're so fucking stupid, I just don't give a shit. I just want to get money. They'll fucking give me what I want. And these dumb motherfuckers don't realize it. These fanboys, these rabid idiots, don't realize that they're nothing but a jackpot to most people on YouTube. They're either paying them money or they're feeding their ego. So this motherfucker's getting what he needs. What are you getting out of it?
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. This is DSP News, the unreliable ones. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the newsroom and welcome to the Galtopia News Network, your unreliable source for DSP News. This is the Snort Report, ladies and gentlemen. Breakfast is served, as usual, except for those last couple times, but that was because of certain setbacks. Ladies and gentlemen, we're here to talk about something a little bit more important than breakfast. Not really, it's not. It's not more important than breakfast. So, let's talk a little bit about what's on the menu. Pancakes, waffles, French toast, as you guys know, bacon, hash browns, corned beef hash, eggs of your choice, orange juice, cranberry juice. We're out of cherry juice, so for those of you who have gout, I am sorry, but Phil Burnell has a stockpile of it in his garage, so, there's always that. Cappuccino, tea, and coffee. Multiple flavors. Now, now that we've gone through that, let's talk about why we're actually here today, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to go over Phil's 10-year plan. It's brought to us by Mr. Huffstuffs. Should be a good video. And on screen, you've seen this kind of pop up for the last couple minutes. You're seeing you're seeing a conversation, well, a couple of different conversations, I should say, or just points of opinion about the leaks that are coming out over which are tied into Phil's 10-year plan, as well as some revelations from about a year ago when Phil was trying to take videos down. And a theory that I had posed to you guys maybe a week ago, it might have been 2 weeks ago, it was a couple of broadcasts back, about how I was looking for some videos on Phil's channel and they were coming up missing. Now, I know I had seen those videos before and whatnot, and I was just, for whatever reason, I just didn't download them, but they were starting to come up missing. Now, I was fortunate that some of the OG detractors, as well as others, had variations of it, if not had the originals. So it kind of worked out, but it kind of didn't, because there's still stuff that I'm missing. But that's neither here nor there. But some of these videos are coming up missing. And someone on Soap Queen 1 on Kiwi Farms, which you're going to see right at this moment, actually confirms it. Well, slightly, that all these videos are being deleted for some strange reason. I think that's going to tie into Phil's 10-year plan. Let's talk about Phil's 10-year plan. So, it all starts with Phil having his little secret wedding in Connecticut, and him having a sit-down with his mother and father, which, in honesty, I don't think his father was actually there. I think it was really just his mother. As I've talked to you guys about before, Phil speaks in such a way sometimes about his parents, as if they're separated. And I think that's what the case is. I don't think either one of them lives in the same house. I think Phil's father lives closer to his job, and I think his mother lives in the, air quotes, the ghetto. The ghetto. Which is ironic in a lot of ways, because your mother lives in the ghetto, right? The ghetto. And yet, you had to come to your mother with your wife in tow, possibly pregnant. Not only did she pay for your trip out there, not only did she pay for your little ceremony type wedding ceremony, but you also had the nerve to ask this woman for the tax money, which you ended up getting. Now, I'm not talking about the $17,161. That number is it's a lie. It's a lie. It's not real. Okay, that number never really existed. Whatever it was that he really owed, that's what he asked for. Now, because Phil isn't above lying to us, to the internet, to the people that are supposedly close to him, the very people he's doing a purge on as we speak, who's to say he wouldn't lie to his mother for a couple thousand extra bucks? That's neither here nor there. You know, let me not take all of his humanity away from him at this present moment. But I wouldn't be surprised either which way, right? So, you come to her, pregnant wife in tow. He says, you know, they actually got engaged, but whatever. You come to her pregnant wife in tow and she sits you down. This woman, who just finished renovating her home, if I remember correctly, Phil, you said it yourself, I think, because I haven't actually watched your pre-stream yet. I've only seen what's on Kiwi Farms and on Twitter, so I haven't actually sat down and watched it. I feel like I'm going to be disappointed, so I don't see a real reason to do it. I didn't see a reason to do it in a hurry, I should say. But whatever. So you ask her for this money, and she gives it to you. So now the taxes, I would assume, are gone. That's all done. But I want to further that. I would believe that his mother's probably going to handle the taxes for him for a little while, for the next couple of years. This is why this 10-year plan thing is a thing. Not only, and this is just a theory, of course, I have no proof of any of this. So let's say his mother covers the taxes that he's in debt for. That would be all of 2018's tax. She covers that. She even agrees to help him with his taxes moving forward for a couple years. In turn, you need to change. What you're doing isn't paying the bills. It isn't doing shit for you. You have all this existing debt. Now you have this woman here pregnant, and now she's probably going to be expecting. You need to get a real job. Phil takes that as, okay, you're bailing me out, right, Mom? You're bailing me out so I can keep doing what I love for a living, right? Because I don't really want to get a 9 to 5. I want to keep doing this. And his mom probably looked at him and was like, no, you have a couple of years of support that we can give to you. And that's that. Now, you're probably like, well, GTG, man, come on. His parents are retired, or at least one of them is. I don't know if his mother actually worked. I think she was really more of a stay-at-home mother, which is a job. Let's not take that away from her. His father does still work, at least so he says. And he has like 3 herniated discs in his back, so he says. So his father's still working. But whatever. One of them is retired. One of them isn't dealing with the bullshit. And so now all of a sudden they have all this money that they can help Phil with. Most of you are like, well, where's they're going to get the money for that? Like, how is it that they're going to continue to support Phil? They've been supporting Phil, if I had to guess, since he moved out. Phil was always getting money from them for little ins and outs since the moment he left their house, if I had to guess. Hence the reason why, Phil, they're probably still in the ghetto, if they're really in the ghetto. they've been supporting their fuck up son. So for him to show up on their front doorstep at 37, begging and pleading for help on piggy hoof, on piggy knee, with a possible pregnant wife in tow, seems a bit pathetic. Seems like they may have fucked up somewhere down the line. But let's not be too harsh on them just yet. So they agree to bail him out, right? They agree to give him all this money. You're probably like, well, where are they going to get the money from? They're probably going to cut into Phil's inheritance, if I had to guess. They're gonna cut into Phil's inheritance, and that cousin that's usually mentioned briefly. Excuse me. That it's usually mentioned every once in a while. The one that's got on drugs or got fucked up in some kind of way, whatever. She's probably gonna walk away with the bulk, if I had to guess. So what Phil doesn't even realize, and if you're listening, Phil, pay close attention. You're slowly but surely bleeding out your own inheritance. So if you think that that's what's going to be waiting for you at the end of this road, you're going to be sadly mistaken. Let me explain. So they sit down, they give Phil this money, and they tell him, you need to change. What you're doing isn't working, and you need to get a real job. Phil says, oh, okay, but I can't do it right now because I have all this thing going on and so on and so forth. So let's say his family, his parents give him 2 to 4 years to get your shit together. We'll help you for the next 2 to 4 years to get yourself on your feet and whatnot, get yourself a real job, get yourself acclimated, because you have a family coming. Okay? No more kitty bullshit no more. No more soulmate. No more of these phantom women with all these random ass problems. You're married now. You need to start taking some real responsibility. And if there's a kid involved, or a possible kid involved, shit's gonna get even worse. Phil takes that as, okay, cool. If I can straighten out my internet shit in 10 years, I'll be cool. Now, he's not telling his mother this. He's sitting there like a bitch and whatnot, just going ahead and nodding his head, being like, sure, mommy, no problem, mommy, snort, yeah, no problem. But in his head, he's like, okay, I have X amount of time to try to clean up all the bullshit online that's going against me. Now, let me explain how that's going to work, and then we'll jump back to mine. So, what does Phil do in a situation like this? He has, theoretically, a 2 or 3 year pass from a tax standpoint. That frees up a whole lot of money. Well, Phil needs to handle these obligations. One obligation, allegedly, that he's about to go ahead and throw off to the wind is he's going to default on the condo. Now, if you're following people on Twitter, I know someone that was actually part of that, I guess was in Phil's chat, tried to pass on some very helpful information to him. Phil didn't listen, said he did his own research, which means he didn't. He just going off hearsay, and basically backsmacked this guy, allegedly. He didn't really backsmack him, you know what I mean? He basically dismissed him. This guy here reaches out to someone else so he can get a hold of, they call me Tex. And he's passing on the information to him. Now, if you're following Tex on Twitter, Tex is actually going through and kind of dissecting all of that. So I don't have all the ins and outs of it. You can follow him on Twitter, or you can follow his podcast. I think he's on D Live now, and you can hear it all for yourself. To give you the long and short of just what I saw, is if Phil defaults, the bank isn't going to just bite the loss. They're going to go ahead and take the property back and try to sell it for whatever, but they'll sue Phil to get the rest of their money. So Phil isn't off the hook. Phil's actually screwing himself. Now, let's go ahead and go off of that. Now, keep in mind, I don't have all the details and whatnot. I haven't looked into it that deeply. But if I had to guess, if they decide to sue Phil, then they'll take what they can in equity out of the home that he's currently in, as well as garnishing wages and shit like that, which only brings him closer and closer to doomsday as it pertains to losing his house. But Phil knows better, and this guy don't know better, so, Phil trumps that. The king trumps everything else. So, there you go. So that's where the situation goes with the whole defaulting on the condo. Now, let's talk about the online aspect, because this is the part that's going to be important. Because Phil, for whatever he wants to tell you, whatever he says on Twitter and Instagram and all that bullshit, he's not giving this up. And when I mean giving this up, he's not giving up Twitch, and he damn sure is never going to give up YouTube. He has a vice grip on that. So if you're a lazy piece of shit who's been out of the job market for 10 years, it's unreasonable to think that you're going to go back into it. You've been out of the job market for 10 years. Your skills, if you even had any, are obsolete. So what do you do then? Well, you have to now try to secure what you have now. He thinks he's untouchable on Twitch. He's not. It's just going to be a matter of time until he gets dropped, but he's not untouchable there. but he's already taken out the majority of his adversaries over there. Which, let me comment on that too, by the way, Phil, if you don't mind. Tex, Bill Purnell, Tevin, and then the joint channel that Tex and Bill had. All of those channels are going to come back into play eventually. Because if they'll let... if they will end up letting Low Tier God come back, if they'll let Brittany Venti come back, if they'll let a lot of these people come back on random shit, even if they got banned again later, if they will let a lot of these people come back for much more egregious offenses, allegedly, then of course they're going to let these guys come back. And you know that. You know that eventually those guys are going to have their counts unbanned. So keep that in mind, Phil, first and foremost. And there's not really too much you can do about that. Especially with the purge that you're having over there in your little roach nest as we speak. Let's move on to the next part of that. This is where some of the leaks come about, where Phil is plotting, or he was plotting with former mods, or now former mods, I should say, to go ahead and take down Snort Brunel, Tevin. There's probably some other names on there too. The best bet that Phil can try to, in Phil's mind, I should say, what he's getting ready to do is absolutely fucking stupid. And it's going to come back on him in the worst way possible. But, whatever, let's continue. What he's going to do is try to take out everybody who he feels is a threat. That's basically everybody who's in the hierarchy. There's no hierarchy. But all the really popular detractors. He's going to clean all of them up. And then think that everybody else is just going to give up and leave. The problem's going to be, YouTube has no incentive to get rid of these people. 2, they're not doing anything to him. Phil is on a whole nother platform. YouTube is not Phil Burnell or DSP, is not his platform. Twitch is. And you don't bring no money in. You don't do much of anything, really. So there's no incentive to get rid of these people. But in Phil's mind, if I get rid of all of these guys, I'll be able to clean certain shit up. Next point, if I get rid of certain videos, private them or delete them, that'll help too. He's going to slowly but surely try to get rid of as much as he can. So when the actual eventual background checks come about, it'll look like he has a clean bill of health. Here's where the problem comes into play. That is fucking insane. And it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. It's the dumbest thing that I think anybody could ever conceive. You've been on the internet for 10 plus years. Every facet of your life, to an extent, has been documented and has been archived, has been stored away everywhere, on personal hard drives, on laptops, embedded into other websites, not just in the United States, but in Europe, in South America, and everywhere else. There is not a video by a detractor, for example, that could not be found in about 24 hours if the right people can get a hold of someone, or if someone with a lot of reach can put the edict out, hey, I need this, who has it? There's no way you can possibly clean all that up, especially since you don't have the money and the power of a much more influential YouTuber or Twitch streamer to make shit really vanish. But even then, nothing ever really just goes away. So that's what Phil's plan is, or at least that's my thoughts, is he's going to clean up the internet basically one detractor at a time. He's going to try to wipe out all of the big guys thinking that that's going to save him. And it won't. It doesn't change anything at all. First off, he's not even going to get rid of those people. You getting rid of a couple of videos, you putting some false copyright strikes out and all that bullshit, Phil? Okay. But you're talking about actually taking down a YouTube channel. Just because you did it on Twitch, by hook or by crook, doesn't mean you can pull that over here. At least not to everybody. So that's what Phil's thinking. And Phil's thinking that if he can get that done over the next couple of years, I would assume by 2020, 2021, he thinks he'll have a clean bill of health and he can just keep moving right along. Now, this is where shit gets disgusting. This is where shit gets egregious, and this is where some of you might actually derail from what I'm saying. But I hope you'll just hear me out so maybe we can intersect back on track, at least to a point of agreement. Even if we agree to disagree, at least we're on the same track. Phil Burnell is at the point right now where he's waiting for his parents to die out. I'm sorry, but that's what it is. He's gonna wait for them to die out. That's why he's saying it's a 10-year plan. This idiot right here started all this nonsense under the pretense that mommy and daddy are sick and dying, or in a really bad way. Oh, they're kind of okay now. Oh, they just are really wanting to see me and Kat. Then all of a sudden they want to pay for our wedding. Oh, my parents are still not in the best situation now that we went out there and saw them. They don't have a whole lot of time left. It sounds to me like someone who's stalling. It sounds to me like someone who's waiting for mommy and daddy to die out so he can collect, not realizing that he's spending his entire inheritance, if not a majority of it, right now, and he'll literally be left with nothing. Now, that's what I'm thinking the situation is going to be. Do I have any proof of that? Of course not. It's just my thoughts. Now, on top of that, it was something that someone else had, something that was brought up on Twitter. No, it was brought up on Kiwi Farms, where with Kat, if they end up getting divorced, Kat wouldn't actually get much. Well, she would get a little bit more than what I think most of us would give her credit for. She's either which way, she's going to walk away from this marriage with a whole lot more than what she brought into it, or what she came into it with. Whatever, same shit. She will walk away with something. Is she going to walk away with hundreds of thousands of dollars? No. Is she going to walk away with a good chunk to start over somewhere else? Yes, I think so. I think so. I think the system is set up in such a way, excuse me, that they will compensate her before they bleed the pig dry. But that's just my opinion. We'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see how all of that plays out. But those are my general thoughts about what Phil's 10-year plan is. It's not really a plan. It's really him putting a band-aid on a situation. Now let's go back to mommy real fast. So his mother is like, hey, you need to go ahead and get this done because now you have a wife, she's expecting a family. But there's a problem with that, ladies and gentlemen. Didn't I say a couple of broadcasts ago, off something that Phil had said a couple of videos ago, that at this point, his mother and father doesn't care if he has kids. It's just not something they're concerned with anymore. They've already given that up. But then why was your mother pushing you so hard to get married at your age? That doesn't make too much sense. And your mother has to know that if you're going to marry this woman, it's assumed that you've already porked her at least once or twice, and you're going to probably pork her again, which means piglets are going to come out. So why do you think your mother's wanting you to take all this extremely seriously under the pretense that either A, you're going to have kids, or B, she's already pregnant? Hence the reason why she's telling him you need to give up your little childish games, and now you need to be a man, and I use that term loosely, and get yourself a goddamn job. I don't know. I'm just a brain dead detractor. I'm probably looking too deep into all this shit. Whatever the case may be. Either which way, ladies and gentlemen, that's my general idea of what the situation has at hand. Whether it's true or not, whether it's real or not, time will tell. But I do have a video for you, as you guys know. So let's get into that right now. And if you guys and I've been playing this for the last 20 minutes. Jesus Christ, sorry about that. I'm not sorry. But for the last 20 minutes, so you guys can always go back. You can also hit all these people up on Twitter. Not Phil. Don't bother with him. He's just going to block you. But you can hit up the rest of these guys on Twitter. They're all cool people. And you can talk to them, or you can look through their timeline. You can find everything that you see here, as well as my own timeline, whatever you want to do. And then you can check out Kiwi Farms to see what's going on. For all of you, though, definitely pay attention to that whole situation with Phil deleting videos. And more importantly than that, the videos that are being deleted. Because those are going to be real telltale situations on what he's doing. I would assume the begging videos are probably slowly but surely coming up missing. Pre-streams are coming up missing. Shit like that. And he doesn't even realize that most people have all that shit downloaded at this point. Whatever. Ladies and gentlemen, you guys already know what the situation is. You guys already. I think I've given enough of an explanation for the situation, at least to my understanding. And let's go ahead and get into the situation. Ladies and gentlemen, this is DSP News. Always late, never breaking. Unreliable coverage that you can't count on. Oh yes, a GTG Network Productions. You guys all know the slogan. And yes, you guys do not smell any bacon cooking just yet. Give me a moment. It's time to watch me work.
Hulk Hogan balls. Tip me $2. And I'll watch you till you're 100. That's a promise here for you, DLSP. Also, are you scared or nervous of getting older? I am, and I'm almost 28 in a couple of days. Sure, we all are. I'll be honest with you guys. The last few years, I've noticed a little few changes and things with my body. And you get a little scared about that shit. But then you find out, you look into it, and you're like, it's perfectly natural. When you get older, things happen.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're here at Mr. Hot Stuff's DarkSydePhil 10-year plan. Okay, so first things first. I see some stuff happen. I don't understand what's going on. You look into it and you realize it's all natural. It's all normal. Oh, he's going through like reverse puberty or some shit. All right, so first things first. That's hilarious, Phil. It's amazing how inept you are. I'm loving that. Oh boy, I'm loving that. Shit. Secondly, looking into it, this goes back to something that I've said about Phil actually seeing a doctor, which he hasn't, by the way. We all know this. And if he did, he would find out that he's in a whole lot worse of a situation than he thinks he is. You can't just sit there and live off of WebMD for the rest of your life. You really need to go ahead and get yourself looked at. You should do it twice a year, to be honest, but at least once. You know what I'm saying? Phil probably hasn't seen a doctor since he was in his 20s. So who knows what's really fucking wrong with him? Who knows what his real problem is? Now, let me actually scratch that, because when he had gout, he probably still didn't see anybody. He probably just had Leanna Google some shit online, and then there you go. Maybe. I think he might have actually gone to the doctor, though, when he had gout. I can't remember now. Because I wasn't even really around for that time. I just always thought it was the funniest shit that I'd ever seen. I guess I'll have to look into that further. If not, someone in the comment section, I'm sure will bring it up. So, there's this situation. He could be dying for all we know. He gets paler and paler every time I see him. And I understand people say, oh, he doesn't know how to work his cameras, bad filters, whatever. He looks sickly. He really does. And he looks like someone who's at the end of his rope, to be honest with you, from a health standpoint. He doesn't have a whole lot of time left, and he doesn't do shit. He really don't. He doesn't do anything from an exercise standpoint. The guy doesn't take vitamins. You scarfing down fucking Kickstarter all day doesn't mean a goddamn thing. You starving yourself and eating once a day, plus a small, he doesn't even call them snacks, but having a sandwich isn't healthy. I mean, and he's losing his hair. Like, his hairline is getting ridiculous. I mean, the guy's falling apart. And if this is what he thinks health is, if he can get up in the morning and look at himself and say, this is what a healthy human being looks like, he's delusional. He's delusional, sorry. You're slowly but surely watching a man die. I remember saying that, like, my like rookie season doing this shit. That you're watching a man slowly but surely die. And he hasn't proved me wrong. Let's continue. DSP News.
So you don't freak out. And, that's life. You get older. So we did them all. And then we went to my parents' house. All right. And this probably was one of the nicest things, because my parents and I just had a really honest talk about how everything's going. And basically my mom said to me a couple things. All right. And I'm not going to reveal every single thing that was said. I have a lot of things that I agree with and I disagree with my parents. We are very different people. Very, very, very different people. If you met my parents, you'd be like, you're Phil's dad and mom. They're not like me. I became an individual very different from them over the years. A lot of independent attitudes.
No, you didn't become independent. You wanted freedom, and you were willing to fuck up multiple times to get it. And then on top of that, every time you messed up, you ran home to mommy and daddy, and they fixed it. Because you're their happy little mistake. That's what ended up really being the situation. You think you're an individual because you ran off and did what the fuck you wanted? You're no different than any other adolescent at that point. The problem is you never learned from any of it. You just kept going out there and kept doing it. You kept fucking up. And you never learned a goddamn thing. And to your parents' credit, yet to their own fault, they kept fixing it. After a while, like on those once a week phone calls he likes to do, he would just literally go into Leanna mode, which is, if you've ever seen him and Leanna kind of interact, he kind of just shuts his brain off as if it was on in the first place. And he just lets her talk and then just gives an occasional, yeah, whatever. and just to let them know, or let her know, that he was still engaged in the conversation. You're telling me he didn't do the exact same thing? The idiot knew that they were going to send the money to him. So what did he care? It's no different than what he does on his pre-streams. It's no different than what he does when people give him money during playthroughs. Same shit. Same generic, oh, thanks for the support. Oh, thanks for this. Hey, I appreciate you coming through with the 10-bit cheer, yada, yada, yada. And then the lame-ass line that comes after that. Oh, it's going to go straight to bills. Oh, it's really going to help me out. It's all... I mean, I can see why people think he reads from a script, because the whole shit sounds scripted. He's been doing it for so long that it's just autopilot. When big donations come in, you'll see this dude rocket to the moon. When it's the small, minuscule ones, or if it's from, you know, people who've donated for a long time, same generic bullshit, keep it moving. His parents are no different.
Things that, you know, night and day in a lot of ways. Although in a lot of ways I'm similar. I'm a stubborn person. My mom is insanely stubborn. She believes that what she thinks is right and is wrong. You know, my mom did not agree with me leaving Connecticut at all. She wanted me to stay in Connecticut my whole life, even though I told her a million reasons why I didn't.
Now this right here is going to be important, because in my personal opinion, this is one of the reasons why he left Connecticut. I think he was running from his parents. Well, no, I think he was running from his mother, to be honest. Not necessarily his parents in general, because, like I said, if my theory is true, his father was already moved out anyway. I think he was running from, or they were separated and he just didn't see him a lot. I think he was running from his mother.
I had to get out of there. I hated it, and it was too expensive. Like a million reasons why I wanted to get out. She always wanted me, you know, to stay with her, well, with my parents, so that they could be close by or whatever. I told them a million times, then move with me. Move with me to a better place. Get out of the ghetto that you live in. You can't.
Now, does that sound realistic to you? If being that he is the only child outside of the cousin, it's understandably so that especially your mother, is going to have some type of attachment to you, obviously. But to be this overbearing sounds like some shit that he saw on television. On top of that, does Phil really come across as the individual who would want his mother and father to move in with him? When they came out to paint his house, fix his toilet, and do all this other stuff, he didn't even have them stay with him. He put them into a hotel. But now he's telling you that he asked them to move out there to Seattle with him. To get up out of the ghetto. To rise up. Any of you guys really believe that? Really? Really? Alright.
Be there your whole life. You can't be in a situation where you go outside, you could get shot. You know, but they don't listen. You know, they don't listen. They're set in their ways, and they do what they want. So basically, it started off the conversation was that my mom.
Now, here's another thing too I want to point out. So he talks about you shouldn't live in a situation where every time you walk outside your door, you're getting shot. So that means the death toll in his neighborhood must be astronomical, which means that property value must be low. Which means, to be honest with you, everybody who's listening to my voice right now, you should be going out to his part of Connecticut and buying a house. Property should be cheap. That's the first thing. Secondly, why would you invest into your home if the neighborhood's so bad? I mean, just under reasonable circumstances, why would you do that? And if there are all these brothers running around shooting up the neighborhood left and right, so on and so forth, why would your parents have moved there in the first place? When those who are of any type of European descent, or just in general, as we as people, when you move to a neighborhood, you move to a neighborhood not because of color or race or all of that, but of values. People who you have camaraderie with, I should say. So actually, let me double back on what I just said. And so I would assume if you were to go to DSP's neighborhood, you're going to find a lot of people who are like them. Polish, Italian, and a mixed bag of everything else. Hence the reason why they felt comfortable there, hence the reason why they never left. And they sat there and raised your ass until he was, 26 or 27, whenever it was he moved out. So, I mean, you were a drain on them, obviously. So they wouldn't have been able to move out anyway because they're still taking care of you. But they must generally like the neighborhood and must like their neighbors if they stayed there. So something tells me that the neighborhood isn't so bad, right? I mean, is that me? Is it just me on that factor? It's funny how he just keeps saying that it's a shitty ass neighborhood, but yet your parents haven't left and you don't know anybody who lives in that neighborhood. You've been gone for like, 3, 4, 5 years. I mean, shit does change. Maybe the neighborhood wasn't that bad when you were there. Maybe you were just mad at mom and dad, or at least mom anyway, because you couldn't do what you wanted. So then you had to go ahead and curve it to where your whole situation was just fucked up. Just saying. I don't know. If I ever go up to Connecticut, I'll let you know.
Wanted to pay for Kat and I to go on a honeymoon. All right. And there were no specific discussions about any of that. Like where would it be or whatever. But basically, I told my mom, I said, I appreciate that. That's amazing. And quite frankly, I doubt Kat and I will ever be able to go on a honeymoon together. Just being very honest, at this point, unless I get myself out of the financial...
Now, here's another thing. Why would any person, any woman, marry this individual? He can't do anything. He has no hope, no aspirations to do anything. You just got married to your supposed soulmate, this woman you love, and you're not willing to work hard to give her a proper honeymoon? It's my understanding that he couldn't even give her a proper wedding. But this is who you're settling down with and going to have kids with. This is someone who you saw is going to go somewhere. Because, I mean, when you get married, you guys, as I said before, you become a unit. You're a team. And so you two believe in each other. And you believe that both of you together can elevate each other to a much higher position. You guys can do well for each other. You can be better for each other. Phil doesn't even look at it that way. He doesn't look at it that way at all. He looks at it as, it's just me. And the rest of you guys are merely my supporting cast. Same thing with John and Rambo. Same thing with Panda. Same thing with everybody. So why would you marry somebody like this if he himself has no aspirations to do anything except for use the people that are around him? DSP News?
Right, I mean, there was no way that I would be able to go. But I told her, I mean, being straight up honest with you, and this is Kat and I had talked about this previously, it's a no-go. We can't go on a honeymoon. I'm in a situation where I can't take time away from work. Already this week that I was away for be with my parents and for the wedding, already I had probably lost thousands of dollars that I would have made on the streams and the videos on YouTube. And that's money I need to pay.
This idiot right here keeps telling us that YouTube revenue has been down. The idiot was gone a week. He's saying he lost thousands and thousands of dollars off YouTube and lost thousands of dollars off Twitch, even though he doesn't run the amount of ads that he should. And when I say he should, I mean, like, when you compare him to someone like Wings, actually a lot of streamers, to be honest with you, I'll use Wings as the best example, because I need to get back into battle mode and get back onto the Wings report. When you look at how Wings runs ads, he runs about 2 or 3 minutes of ads. He says it gives him about $5 an ad, a little more, a little less. All right, and he does that a couple times throughout a stream. Phil has ample opportunity to do the exact same thing, and he doesn't do it. He does it at these random ass times that makes no goddamn sense. Which is funny, because you would think for someone who's as regimented as he is, he would be smart enough to do that, but he don't. His begging is really the majority of his stream. It's where the real money comes from. Not from the gameplay, not from the atmosphere, not from the positivity, not from any of the bullshit. It's the begging. And even the begging doesn't bring him in thousands of dollars a week. You know? He might pull 1,000 a week, maybe. But not thousands. So, either A, he blatantly lied to his mother and father about what he's making, his mother. He's either lying to his mother about what he's making, or he's certainly lying to us about what he's making. Especially, going back with YouTube, it's steep decline. A quarter of what I was making, half of what I was making, 3/4 of what I was making, another quarter of that, another quarter of that. Like, we're just cutting the pie into smaller and smaller pieces and claiming that they're larger chunks every time he does it. And let's be honest, ladies and gentlemen, he's in this position, and I'll elaborate on this in another video. He's in this position because of Machinima, not because Machinima dropped his ass, because that's his own fault. He's in this whole situation is because Machinima overpaid him from the rip. That's what happened. And he's admitted this. Machinima overpaid him from the rip. And he just assumed that's how everything worked. So when he started getting cut back and cut back and cut back, he was bitching and complaining about it. But at the same time, they were still overpaying him, so he was still okay with it. And by the time he was getting to what he should have made, he would have never left Connecticut. He wouldn't have had enough money to do so, unless he saved it. And so that whole dream of having this house and having his own studio and all that bullshit, it literally is bullshit. He's someone who had made ridiculous amounts of money and squandered it. And right when he saw the real axe coming down on his income, he chose the run, which is what a coward does. He chose the run with no plan, no real resources, and that's why he's in the situation he's in now. Like I said, we'll get into another broadcast where we cut into that a little deeper. But I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of it. Think of it as a new flavor of bacon that I'm working on. DSP News.
Pay my bills, and I'm not in a financially feasible situation where I could take time away from work in a significant amount of time anytime soon. We're talking years now, probably, before I'll be in a better financial position where maybe I could do that.
While he's taking a sip, sleazy asshole, aren't you the same dude who fed Leanna this lie? And fed the fan base too? Oh, I can't marry Leanna because I'm in such a situation and this, that, and the third, and getting married just seems ridiculous and so on and so forth. So then you go ahead and marry this chick, and now you're saying, oh, I can't go on a honeymoon for years because of yada, 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 yada. Which is fine, but didn't you used to take Leanna on staycations? Like a half hour away from your house for like 3 or 4 days? You tell me you can't swing that? Oh, that's right. You don't have enough money on your credit cards to do that. Ah, I see. Gotcha. All right, just for clarification, of course.
So, I told her
Sleazy asshole.
straight up front. I said, not possible. Honeymoon can't. You could promise us this, and I probably will never be able to take it. Okay, but you know my financial situation, and basically I told her about everything that's been going on here over the last few weeks. How I've been doing multiple marathons.
Wait, first thing is praise be almighty, by the way. Secondly, why would you need to tell her about everything that's been going on for weeks and weeks and weeks when you talk to her once a week? Shouldn't she already have been debriefed of all of this and brought up to speed? So why are you having to basically refeed her the same bullshit over and over again? I don't know. It sounds like that whole creature or habit thing I keep saying, Phil. It sounds to me like you ain't subtly, changed up the story now that you're right in front of her to make it sound a bit more digestible. Just saying. Because it sounds like whatever you were trying to pull out of mommy, she wasn't willing to budge. So you had to flip the story a little bit to have her be a bit more sympathetic to you. It's kind of a shame that you had to manipulate your own mother like that. Yeah, what are you going to do?
How much money I had raised, and based off of what my tax guy had told me, here's what's left. And then, by the way, the tax guy is going to bill me this much for doing my taxes. He's going to bill me this much to try to get me on the payment plan. I basically gave her all the financials of everything. All right? And, sitting there having this honest conversation, my mom said,
tax guys charge you to put you on a payment plan when you told us that the original tax guy told you, or not the original tax guy, but you told us that the tax guy can get you on a payment plan if you could put more money towards what the overall balance is that you owe. Now you're saying that he's going to charge you to put him on to get you on a tax plan. See how the story just keeps changing up?
Well, here's the deal. She's like, I need you to commit to a fact that you're going to do some life changes in the short term and the long term. Because you can't keep going like this. She looked at me and she's like, you're happy, but I can tell...
This part is all going to be bullshit, but the overall plot that his mother wants him to make life changes is the part that I want you to pay attention to, because we've already spoken about it.
You're running yourself ragged. I can tell that you are working yourself to the bone, Kat as well. And, every time I call you or every time we talk on the weekends, you tell me about how the whole week is work. You never tell me that you get to spend time with Kat, because you don't, right? And this is not the life that you're going to be able to live for your whole life. She's like, what are you going to do, when you're 50, 60 years old and you think people are going to still want to tune into your stream all day long? I mean, yeah, maybe I could still do like a part-time stream, but no, who's going to want to sit watching a 60-year-old
See, I told you, he has no plans of giving this up. Not at all.
guy play video games all day, right? In addition to that, you're killing yourself financially because you have all these situations going on with the finances behind the scenes of everything. You're killing yourself to even make ends meet and pay your bills. How are you going to... You can't. She's like, you've worked yourself to your limits. You can't keep going the way you're going. If you keep doing it, you're gonna have health problems. She says, look at us. Look at your father and me. You know, we are at 60 years old and are having these health problems where we could go in any day. So essentially, we had this very long and important conversation. Okay, and we're
now. Remember what I said at the end of my initial rant, if you will, about how he's waiting for his parents to basically fall out of the picture so he can close the book on them, if you will. His words, not mine. That right there kind of cements it. Because, one, they're not 60, they're probably 60 plus. Two, the way he keeps going back to the fact that, oh, you know, look at us, look at all of our health problems, and we could go any day. That is sadly a form of wishful thinking on his part. He's really looking, that's where this whole 10-year thing comes from. It's in a disturbing sort of way. It's him planning out these people to fall out of the picture within the next 10 years so he can go in and grasp what is his. Now, what the condition is of his cousin, the other person who's probably in this will, we'll probably never know. But if he keeps, you know, throwing the bullshit out that she has a bunch of fucking problems herself and this, that, and the third, he's thinking he can just come in and swoop all that up. That's what I'm assuming. Because he is their legitimate child, air quotes, because we don't have no proof on that. But since he's the legitimate child, you know, he should be entitled to all of it. But in truth, to get back on point, he's waiting for them to basically die out. That's what the plan is. And after they do, he takes whatever money they have in liquid assets, and then he sells the house off to the highest bidder. Sadly. DSP News.
Was a few things. The first is I realized, guys, I can't do this forever. I know that. And by the way, don't worry. It doesn't mean I'm quitting doing this anytime soon. I love it. But I know realistically...
No one gives a shit about that. People have been telling you for years within your own fan base that you can't do this forever and you need to find a real job. They were doing that up until the time you left to get married in secret, like a coward. They were telling you that. Now all of a sudden, Mommy Boreal tells you that shit, and all of a sudden you come back and all of a sudden you have some sudden revelation? Nah, that's not how that works, buddy. That's not how that works at all. She gave you an ultimatum, and you're basically just feeding off of that and just twisting the story any way you see fit. You guys don't believe me? Let me give you an example. If you guys have ever watched Tevin stream, of course you guys all have, Phil will get a cheer, right? And he'll take the message and he'll flip it to sound like it's more positive than what it was. He does that every once in a while. It's rather stupid, to be honest, because if you're watching his stream, it comes up on screen, and I would think it comes up in the chat too. So why would you lie about something like that, knowing that the cheer came up? Especially even if you don't call out the name, you would be able to get an idea of what the cheer is, because Phil usually does all of that in order. So why would you lie about something like that everybody can see? I don't know.
How long can I do this? I can't do this forever. She has a point. What could I do? Maybe another 10 years? Top 15 tops? Would people care when I'm 50 years old playing fucking video games? You know what I mean?
Now, think about how pathetic that is. He's 37, and he's looking at doing this for another 50. Looking at doing this for another 15 years. 15 more years of this shit. He really wants to be 52 years old, 53, 55, 60, 80, and keep doing this shit. Because it's free money, and why would you give that up? He's really thinking this. Oh, shit.
And not to say that I couldn't try to diversify and do other things with my streaming. But I certainly don't think that it's going to be something people are going to want to tune into when I'm an older dude. You know, it's a younger generation. You know, they're not going to want to see me doing that stuff when I'm older. So in reality, what she's basically...
So in reality, you're washed up. You're useless. You're outdated. You were obsolete years ago. And every opportunity that you were given, every good piece of advice that you were given by detractors and fans alike, you disregarded because you wanted to do things the way you wanted to do. Keyword. What you wanted to do. Key phrase, if you will. Now, because mommy and daddy are going to, or at least mommy's going to cut the purse strings from your bitch ass. Now all of a sudden, oh, well, I need to shape up, guys. I need to shape up. But in Phil Burnell fashion, I'm not really going to shape up. I'm going to tell her what she wants to hear, and I'm going to go ahead and try to knock out all my enemies while I can on this side until my time's almost up. And then I'll probably pretend like I went out and got myself a nice little 9 to 5, while in actuality, I'm still doing this. Mommy won't know. She don't live here. So what does she know about anything? She only knows what I tell her. Right, Phil? Something along those lines, yeah? Just saying. That's, I could be wrong. I could be. But I would assume it's something along those lines.
Saying is that I need to not quit what I do, but I do in the long term need to figure out what else am I going to do. And she's right. I agree with her after thinking about it. Being completely honest with everyone. What I need to kind of do is get myself to a financial situation where I don't have to work all day on stream. Maybe where I can do like, all right, my finances are in a situation where now I don't owe so much that I have to literally make a ridiculous amount of money to pay the minimum payments on everything. And so that way I can stream less and I can maybe go get a job that's an entry-level job that pays less than what I make streaming, but it won't matter because I won't owe all this debt to everyone and I won't need to make that much money anymore. You see what I mean? But that's not a short-term thing. There's no...
Wait. So if you can alleviate all these problems, right, getting a 9 to 5 wouldn't really be a big deal because you wouldn't have so much debt. So let's go ahead and let's try to look at this from another way. So if Phil can basically bleed mom and dad and then try to get the piggies to the pig pen here to basically, what's the word I'm looking for? If he can get them to regroup and come back strong for the next, 5 to 10 years, I suppose, he can get himself out of all this debt, and then he can just keep moving right along like nothing ever happened. The problem is, though, is Phil's accustomed to a certain type of lifestyle, and he's not going to want to give that up. That's hence the reason why he's in the situation he's in right now. And as for all the hard work that Kat puts into this, I would assume she's not going to want to go with anything less. And if a kid comes into play, then you're going to have to change up no matter what. I don't know. This doesn't sound very good, Scooby. This doesn't sound very good at all. It sounds like pure half-assing.
You owe less money to the world. You see what I mean? So this is something that's going to come in time. Where maybe, maybe within 10 years, I can fix things financially behind the scenes where I'm not bleeding every month financially.
What makes you think you actually have 10 years to do that? Think about this for a minute, ladies and gentlemen. There have been people who have been in worse financial straits because of real bullshit that hit them, not self-imposed, and were able to get out of that in less time. But Phil needs 10 years. He needs a whole nother decade of YouTube and Twitch to pull him out from the abyss so he can get his shit together and try whatever he can to avoid getting a real job. Holy shit.
Stream less and I can go get another job and balance my life with that. And not to say, again, I don't want to quit doing this. I will do this. As long as it's within my power, guys, I will stream and share my daily gameplay and just fun experiences and interactions with you guys as long as I can, as long as people care. But nothing's forever. Nothing lasts forever. And my mom's right. She's like, you're going to be our age. How are you going to be fucking doing this at 60? Look at us. We could barely move. And you're going to be doing this at 60? You're out of your mind. And she's right.
How is it that they can barely move when your father still works a 9 to 5? And he has, your words, not mine, he allegedly has 3 herniated discs in his back. Severely herniated discs in his back. But yet he still gets up every day and works a 9 to 5. So his fuck-up 37-year-old son can keep doing this thing that he's doing, and failing at, by the way, for another 10 years until he's forced to get a real job. If he can even find one at that point. Didn't Robert De Niro in some movie recently, or maybe last year or something, end up like having to find a job or whatnot and doing some shit like that in a movie? I feel like that's the movie that he saw, and that's where all this is coming from. I wish I could remember the movie now. Yeah, but it's like a fairly recent movie though. I feel like that's what this is.
So basically, I think that's what it's going to be. Is in the next 10 years or so, once I finally get myself in a situation where financially it's not so bad, I'm going to look to get another job of some sort. And, you know, it's going to be work because I've been out of the job market for 10 years almost. And it's going to be probably another 10 years. You know what I mean? Before I can make those changes, but I'm going to have to. Okay?
No, here's the thing. And I want you to think about this rationally for a second. You really think his credentials are going to mean shit in 10 more years? You really think his degree is going to mean fuck all in another 10 years? It probably means fuck all now. It's definitely not going to mean shit later. And it's not like in the next 10 years, right? The decade moving forward. Another decade of failure. That he's going to sit there and actually, I don't know, go online and actually do some research on what's going on in his field, take some online tune-up courses or anything like that. Phil's not going to do any of those things. But he really believes in a decade, he's going to be qualified for something within his field. When aspects of that field will probably be phased out by then. And he's not thinking about any of this. Oh boy.
And my mom's absolutely right. She says, you just can't keep doing what you're doing anymore. Like, if you literally cannot pay your bills, something's got to give. So, as afraid as I am of if I don't pay a certain thing, I'll ruin my credit or whatever, right? At this point, there's no alternative. You know what I mean? Like, basically, Kat and I sat down this week and talked a lot. And we were like, if I can't pay these taxes and we have to sell the house, what happens? Well, number one, we have to get another place, and my credit's not good. It's not. My credit's bad because I have so much outstanding debt. I doubt I would even qualify for a background check or whatever to get an apartment, or I definitely can't buy another house. No one's going to finance a mortgage for me. So it would have to be...
I mean, one, you barely were able to find anybody to finance a mortgage for the house in Seattle now. You had to go to like 3 separate people for that. You had to go to 3 separate places to get that done. And then you probably had to backtrack to 1 or 2 of them before someone finally said yes. Because I remember you bitching about that, because I remember Tevin, praise be, had mentioned that in one of his Back in Time streams. And you were extremely pissed off. Actually, I can probably still find that video. Where you were extremely pissed off about the fact that the people at the bank were going through these rigmaroles and not giving you this loan for that house in Seattle. Which is ironic, because didn't you go out to Seattle? Didn't you go out to Seattle for like 3 or 4 days and splurge all this money and have all these huge bottles of Tanqueray and shit and just partying it up? But then when it was really time to get a loan, shit didn't go so well, did it? Imagine that.
Renting, and I don't even know if I would pass the renter's pack because my credit sucks. Okay? Feasibly, how would I move? I don't have money for it. I don't have money to move my stuff. I don't have time. I have to work my ass off to make minimum payments on everything. How am I going to have time to move? You know, that's a lot of work. Finding a real estate agent, renovating the house so it's ready for sale, selling all the shit in the house.
Where'd you get the money to move Kat in? And another thing is, she still agreed to marry you under these pretenses? Actually, when did you actually have this talk with her? Was it after you got a ring on her finger? When she was kind of locked in no matter what? I mean, granted, you're both locked in at this point. But was that when this happened? Holy shit, Phil. I'd like to think any individual with rational thought would look at you and be like, I mean, they could honestly just look at you and tell you're a fuck up. But if they want to look deeper, if they're a better person, even after hearing some of this, they would realize, no, you do not have your shit together. You're probably never going to have your shit together. You getting married and procreating is probably not a very good idea, Phil. Not at all. Not at all. But we'll get to that.
I have no time to do any of it. Kat's working too. We don't have time. Okay? So the reality of it is this. The reality of it is this.
Stop. You can't read the chat and think of a lie at the same time. We've already proven this. So stop trying to do it, sleazy asshole.
I have to make concrete changes that will ruin my credit in order to save the situation. I cannot leave this house, period. This house is where I work. This house is where the business is that makes...
He's going to die in that house. I told y'all. He's going to die in that house. He's putting himself in position right now for it. He is not going to leave that house no matter what. He's going to die in that house. He's going to die in that house.
Money. And this is the primary concern, is keeping this house, because if I lose this house, okay, then that means that I can't work, okay? I might not be able to get the internet I need to stream every day. I might not be able to do the work that I do in an office setting that's this quality, okay? So it's just simple. As of now, my primary focus is this house and paying this mortgage and keeping the electricity and all that on. And whether that means that my credit gets permanently destroyed because I'm not paying the mortgage in Connecticut, or I'm not paying credit cards, or whatever it may be, so be it, because this is the important thing. And eventually what's going to happen, depending on what happens, how much I can afford and the like, is probably eventually that condo that I have in Connecticut that's a money pit that I can't get rid of and I can't rent and I can't sell.
Now, keep in mind, people on Kiwi Farms and on Twitter had said that house is up on the market, actually. So that's not necessarily true either. So keep that in mind moving forward too. I don't have all the details on that, but I'm sure someone does. So don't get me wrong, the condo's still in play. He's not gonna, if he does sell it, he's not gonna get what he paid into it. He's definitely gonna take a hit on it. And I think that's what this part is really about. It's really just him saying, I'm gonna take a hit on that condo when I sell it. But at least he has it.
They're gonna get foreclosed. They're gonna foreclose on it and take it out of my name. And that's going to be a tremendous financial burden off of me. It's going to be at the expense of my credit. But at this point, I don't see another way out. The other thing with the credit cards is I know that with certain credit card companies, you can call and negotiate and say, listen, I'm in a bad financial position right now. I'm just in dire straits. I have a ridiculous amount of back taxes I owe the federal government and that I can't pay them.
They're not going to want to hear that. You're going to call them and say, hey, this is what my situation is. Can arrangements be made? And more often than not, all credit card companies will do so, because at the end of the day, they just want their money. They just want their money. So to sit there and say that they're all just going to leave you high and fucking dry doesn't work. They all want their money, just like banks. They all want, which is what credit card companies are. They're banks. They all want their bread. They all want their money. And if they have to wait a little longer for it, they're just going to charge you a little bit more interest for it. Or they'll even work that out with you, worst case scenario. But at the end of the day, house wins.
So obviously I can't pay you anymore, because if I don't pay the back taxes, they're just going to start taking my money, and you're going to get nothing. So what I need to do is negotiate with these credit card companies and say, I can pay half of what you actually want, but you have to lower my interest rate to make that affordable, so that the card doesn't just keep racking up and never get paid down. So basically I have to do all this stuff. I have to abandon a property in Connecticut.
Now, let me talk about something else real fast. The credit card situation, he's going to keep using those credit cards. He's still planning on living off of those credit cards, I should say. So, in truth, that's like a vortex that he's never going to get out of either which way. And he basically already explained it to you. So, his credit cards, which have always been the thing he's lived and died by, are going to be the very things that's going to take him out altogether. He got lucky the first time. He got lucky the first time when he stepped into YouTube. People didn't have a general idea of a fuck up he was, and he made himself a boatload of money because he was overpaid, and he was able to get out. It's not going to work this time around. That's why he's saying he needs another decade, because he thinks that in another 10 years, he'll get lucky a couple years, and he'll be straight. And that's not going to happen. His time is come and gone.
I have to negotiate with credit card companies, and this is going to permanently fuck my credit up. Like, I know, because I used to work for a finance company, Wells Fargo, where we would try to give mortgages and refinances, and if you had foreclosure on someone's credit report, you can't even talk to them for like 10 years. After 10 years, maybe we'll consider talking to you again. You got foreclosure, can't talk to you, okay? And I don't know if I negotiate with credit card companies, I don't know if they're going to report that on my credit report as, oh, he's not paying, or, you know what I mean? Like, oh, he's defaulting on the minimum payments or whatever. Because they might say on paper, okay, we won't harass you if you pay this much. That doesn't mean they're not going to report that to the credit agency as he's not paying the minimum expected of him. Okay? So at this point, that's really what I have to do. And I committed to my mother that I'm doing it. I said, I will commit to you, Mom, that I'm going to do this because you're right. There's no way to pay everything anymore. And, you know, I have a wife. We have a life together. You know what I mean? And we have to make these changes because we can't keep going this way until something goes wrong. I was so afraid this year of losing my house because I thought I'm going to have to sell my house to pay my taxes. I realized
As you were so afraid last year and you were so afraid the year before. Despite the fact that you didn't pay your taxes last year. You were so afraid of losing your house though, right, dude? Just saying.
I can't sell my house. If I sell my house, I can't work. This is the place I have.
I'm sorry, didn't you do this all out of an apartment for a number of years? Which were arguably your best years, where you made the most money? I know, I'm just splitting hairs at this point, but I just thought I'd bring that up. You know, the public still requires bacon, and sometimes you got to cut deep.
To keep everything else goes to shit. This is the place I have to fucking keep. Okay? So, after this long... I mean, this was hours. This conversation was hours. Alright? After this long conversation with my parents, finally...
How is it with your parents when really your mom is the only one that was really talking? Just saying, because you haven't mentioned your father at all in this situation yet. Which leads me to believe that he might not have even been there. Just saying. That's a great pose. Sadly, Phil, you might want to get used to that pose because you're probably going to end up having to, you know, bow down and beg for Tevin's forgiveness at the end of all this. So, you know, that might be a good screenshot. I might use that.
Basically, my mom said, well, since you can't go on the honeymoon, you know, how much...
Actually, if you think about it, right, him in that pose, which is almost like a prayer pose, that's similar to what he did, Christmas of 2017? Thanksgiving of 2017. If I get back on my hands and knees and thank you guys, I would do it. Something like that, right? And Phil, we all know how you are about giving praise to people who give you large amounts of money. So is that what you did with your mom? Did you get down on hooves and on knees and be like, hey, thank you? Really? Thank you. Is that what you did, Phil? Just saying. I just thought it was a prevalent question.
To get on this payment plan for these taxes and basically not get completely screwed over. I told her, she gave me the money. So
it's just like a pre-stream. It was like a pre-stream. It was like any type of begging video. I told you. This was like any other situation. He lets people hear exactly what he feels that they need to hear and whatnot. He'll concede to an extent, and then they give him the money. Oh, this is so good. Oh, so good.
Essentially, the reason that right now I'm going to be able to get on a payment plan is because you guys supported the shit out of me for the past month with these marathons, combined with the money that my mom was able to afford. Now, here's the thing.
No, let's talk about the thing before you put your hoof up. Because I ain't caught you red-hooved anyway, so this kind of works out. Ladies and gentlemen, the money that he has been given, all that's... he's pocketing that shit. He's pocketing all that. Because when he goes to mommy and begged her for this money, he told her the exact amount. Plus a couple extra thousand, if I had to guess, because he's a greedy piece of shit. Exactly what he needed to cover the taxes as a whole. Not what these kids and all these other idiots gave him. Just what he needed to cover taxes plus a couple grand. That's what mommy gave him. Everything else, he pocketed that shit. All that got pocketed. All that is somewhere in some other piggy bank chilling. That's what happened there. So when Phil comes out in, I don't know, a couple weeks, even a couple of months and says, hey guys, I'm going to have to take 4 or 5 days off, you're going to know where that money went. And trust me, ladies and gentlemen, it was money well spent, I'm sure. It was money well spent, I'm sure. So keep that in mind when all of a sudden mystery situations come up where I have to leave for like 4 or 5 days. Just to let you know. Just putting that out there.
Here's the thing. This money came with conditions. She says, your dad and I are old. We can't work anymore. She's like, we got to retire. This is it. We can't do anything
Your dad's
else.
still working, so what are you talking about?
We can't help you if this happens again. So you have to commit to doing what you're saying you're going to do, because if you don't, we have nothing else. This is it. This is the end of it.
With what he's telling you, just the way he's explaining it, that proves my point that they gave him a large sum of money. They've given him a large sum of money. So everything them kids gave him, all the money those useless idiots gave him, useful idiots, I'm sorry, they gave him, they got swindled. They got played out. Bye. Why do you think he's okay if we go up to a recent situation? I'm recording this on 4/16. Why is it that all these mods are getting purged all of a sudden? Who are contributors too? Some big ones at that. Not everybody, but some of them. Why do you think he's okay with a lot of that shit being let go? Why do you think he hasn't, at least as far as I know, I need to get back on Twitter and see what's going on with that shit and get on Kiwi Farms. He hasn't come out and started really bashing people publicly about the situation. Now, whatever he says in his chat is whatever he says in his chat. But why hasn't he actually come out and said anything about, actually, I haven't watched him in 2 days, so I don't know what the fuck he's doing and what he ain't doing. I doubt he's come out and named names and said, fuck all those guys for lying and putting out these leaks and so on and so forth. He hasn't done any of that yet. And like I said, he's still making his money no matter what. Why do you think he doesn't mind these mods leaving him? He's not worried about it. Especially since he has a whole new batch of people who are looking to come into the power vacuum either which way. He's still winning. You know what I mean? Or he's still surviving. It's not winning. He's still surviving, if you think about it. DSP News?
You know, this is the end all be all. So the situation is, she gave me enough money to qualify for the payment plan. Now, she didn't pay the taxes. Fuck no. She doesn't have enough money to pay $17,000 in back taxes. She gave me enough money that combined with what she gave me, combined with what you guys gave me, all right, is enough to now pay the government, and my tax attorney will work with the government to qualify for the payment plan. All right? So, essentially, I am still going to have to try to make a lot of money because I'm going to have an additional new payment coming out of nowhere now. I don't even know what it's going to be. I was assuming probably $500 to $1,000 a month, but it depends on what the terms they give me for this payment plan. And what I'm going to have to do is, like I said, number one, dump the condo in Connecticut. Just don't pay it anymore till they foreclose. That's money in my pocket. And number two, make negotiations with all my credit card companies to pay like half. Because if I could pay half of what I'm paying now, that's a lot of money in my pocket.
He's already spelled out his own demise for you. Number one is really what's going to fuck him. He's screwed on that. He's losing everything off number one. That and marrying Cat. So that's the two things that are going to screw him there. Number two, he can do that now, to be honest. And he can just stop bitching and complaining about it. He could literally ask them to, like, especially since he has a 10-year plan, he could ask them if they could waive the interest rates off him for a couple years so he could pay the balances down. And that depends on even how much he owes. It's not like he's running around with a black card or anything like that, or like a platinum silver card. He's not running around here with multiple credit cards with $10,000, $15,000 credit lines. He's not doing that. So he definitely don't have that. So it's not like what he owes isn't feasible. What makes it a problem is he keeps using them. He's constantly rotating through his cards each and every month. And that's why he can never pay it down. I'm sorry. That's the reason why he can't do it. That's just my opinion, of course.
And between those two, I should be making enough to not only pay all my bills that I absolutely need to pay to keep the business going and keep this house, but also enough to pay my taxes. All right? That's the deal, everybody. That's what's going on. So the good news is, this house is not at risk right now anymore because of the changes that I'm going to make and the fact that both you guys and my mom helped me out. We're out of the water for the short term. Long term, who fucking knows what's going to happen? Because it seems like every time I get to this situation and something's going right, something creeps the fuck up out of the under the rug, or crawls out of the toilet, or shoots out of a monkey's ass at me and hits me. I mean, so many things have happened over the years with bullshit. And it's terrible, the stuff that's happened, but, you know, it's very simple. It has to happen. You know what I mean? It has to happen. So that's what I'm doing. And that has to start this week. You know, as early as this week, I'm going to contact my mortgage company for that condo in Connecticut and tell them that's it. You know, 2 years ago, I tried to short sell my condo in Connecticut and they denied me, Say, it's your fault. I gave you a chance 2 years ago. I told you I was serious. I didn't have money for this stuff. You denied me, and now here we are 2 years later, and I owe $17,000 in back taxes that I didn't pay, so you're fucked. You're not getting any more money.
No, you're fucked. You're fucked, buddy boy. That's what that is. You're fucked. Now, let's talk a little bit. I'm going to try to be brief, but you know me. About what the situation is being laid out. Mommy and daddy paid for the tax. That $17,000 doesn't exist. It's a phantom number. Whatever it was that he really owed, that's what mommy and daddy are agreeing to pay, or at least mommy. Mommy's agreeing to pay that plus a couple thousand so Phil can pocket it. Whatever he owes on that condo, he's probably going to continue to pay it because he knows it makes no sense to let that shit go. And if it's true that it's still on the market, and if it actually sells at a loss, he's going to be good on that. Now, that also leads me to something I just thought about. Is it possible that his parents didn't just give him the money, or mommy didn't give him the money? That this is really a loan, waiting for the house to sell, which would give his parents an initiative to make sure the house sells. Why do I say that? Let me explain. So, watch me work. Remember when Phil said last year that there's no way his parents can keep up with the condo because they're too old and they just can't do it, and so on and so forth? You guys remember a couple of weeks back when he said, oh yeah, my parents go by there and check out the condo for me and everything like that to make sure everything's cool, this, that, and the third. Now keep in mind, there's still an ongoing theory that somebody lives at that condo, whether it's his father or they're renting it out or whatever the case may be. But it says right here, or it's been said, I should say, that the condo might actually be for sale. So obviously you probably wouldn't want anybody living in it at any given time. But he said his parents couldn't actually look after the condo because they're too old. He's been saying that for a couple years. But then he said recently, and I mean recently, like only within the last month or two, that his parents have been keeping up with the condo, looking out for it, checking up on it every weekend or every weekend, every other weekend. So it's not like it's outside of the realm that if they give him a loan on this money, on this large amount of money, that they wouldn't have stake in making sure this condo sells. Yet again, even if it's at a loss, so they can get their cut back because they're dipping into their retirement money to help their fuck up son out. And then there's the situation proper. Taken care of, nice and wrapped up. He gets his taxes paid and whatever other money he lied about, that gets wrapped up. Condo gets paid for. He gives his parents back their cut because essentially he's being loaned the money. Excuse me. And then Phil moves forward taking care of his credit cards, which are only going to fuck him all to hell anyway because he doesn't know how to stop using them. Because he doesn't know how to make a budget, and he doesn't know how to live within that budget. Or within his means, if you will. DSP News.
From me. So you can either just foreclose now and get the property immediately so you could sell it again and make money, or you could take 2 years and waste your time, but either way, I'm not paying you any more money. So I got to do that this week at some point. And, you know, my mom talked a lot of sense into me. I agree with her. And it's just something that inevitably what I'm hoping to happen here is let's say within 10 years.
Let's say this. In a couple of years, most of the people who's listening to this, that's part of his fan base, are going to be banned, who are going to just move on with their lives, or are not going to remember this either which way. That's what this really comes down to. They're not going to remember any of this anyway. That's why this isn't a separate video of its own volition. That's why Mr. Huffstuffs had to cut this out and make it a separate video. Because even though I've never spoken to Mr. Huffstuffs, I would assume he's thinking what I'm thinking, that no one's going to remember this if this isn't archived in some way, shape, or form. This will be lost to Galtopian history if this isn't, cemented now. Because in a year or two, when this is brought up, Phil's going to deny this whole thing ever happened. I guarantee it. I guarantee it.
Years. It has to be a 10-year transition. My credit gets ruined, but because I'm not paying the crazy credit card payments anymore. I'm not paying for this black hole condo in Connecticut. That money goes towards taxes and pays my basic bills. And now things finally start to go down to the point.
Oh, this is for your taxes and your basic bills. Oh, I missed that part. Oh, that changes the equation slightly.
Let's say in 10 years, now I don't have to do full-time streaming anymore, and I could go look for a job, and I could balance that with the streaming until eventually we phase out. No. Okay, Piggy, let's go ahead and let's get cooking. So, what's really going to happen, Phil,
is you're alleviating your bills so you don't have all the debt anymore. You're still going to keep streaming. And Kat would still have a job. So basically, you're just saying that you're not going to have any of the finances, the financial burden, if you will, hanging over your head. It's not a matter of you going out and getting a job. Oh shit. You want to spend the next 10 years fucking over everybody who's ever said anything about you online, alleviating your debt as much as possible, and trying to curb your spending, which is going to take you 10 years because you're a fuck up. So between Kat's job and streaming on Twitch, you're going to be good to go. You can't lose. Now, realistically, anybody who could look at this rationally would be like, there's no fucking possible way. But if you saw It's a Gundam's video recently about that one blonde or whoever that is who admitted on stream to being a drug mule and said she got off on it, it's not too far out of the realm that Phil might be able to still lug around for a little while, but not forever. Because sorry, Phil, your tits weren't as nice as hers, so I don't think you're not going to be able to hold too much water to her. Granted, though, her looks are going to end up dropping off in like 10, 15 years anyway. But whatever. It is what it is. It's just how the game's played. When you sell your beauty for profit, interestingly enough, it doesn't last very long. So that's what the real situation is, Phil. That's the real thing we're talking about here, Philly boy. If I can find that clip from It's a Gundam's video, I will, and I will also link the video down below. So whether I find the clip or not, I'll still link the video down below so you can see it. Unless they took it down, which hopefully they did not.
In a position where I'm healthy and I'm not overworking myself. That's the plan. I don't know how it's going to go. You know, I'm sure there's going to be more ups and downs along the way, but that's the plan. This trip to Connecticut was literally, in more ways than just the marriage, was a life-changing experience for me. Okay? Wings of Redemption fan cheer.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of that, because we're going to save that right there for another day. We're going to save that for another day. So... oh my god. That was unceremonial, to say the very least. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so I think for the most part we've laid out the plot, to be honest. Apparently he married Kat out of convenience, which is what I always told you that whole relationship was an arrangement. He used, I'm only guessing, I'm gonna have to watch a couple other videos, which I'll just do that with you guys because it's easier doing it that way, honestly. And we'll go over it. That way. But I'm guessing that he married Kat to put his parents in a position to help him with this money, and obviously the tax breaks and everything that comes along with that. In turn, his parents were like, "Okay, you owe all this money. We'll help. We'll front you the money. We'll finance you, if you will, to get you out of all these problems. In doing so, we'll also have to take up the burden of trying to sell that condo. When that condo sells, we get our money back, because there's no reason for them to take an L if they don't have to. In turn, Phil's already fucked himself out of his inheritance either which way. Whether they get their money back or not, he's probably not going to be left with too much. But and even if he is, Kat will take that in the divorce anyway. So there we go on that. This isn't going to work well. It's not, and Phil already knows that, hence the reason why he said he's going to need a decade to do it. He's going to need a decade to transition. He's lost all of the mods, and when Phil loses mods, he's going to obviously have to go into a bit of a purge. You know, he knows that these people are going to go off to the detractors and debrief, which is exactly what's going on. So he's going to have to basically groom a whole nother stable of pigs. It's just going to have to be, that's just how the situation is going to work. And hope that a couple of whales will come in over the next decade. And that's if he even has a platform to do that on. There's no guarantee that Twitch is going to be around in a decade, and there's certainly no guarantee he's going to be on it. And then there's going to be more and more detractors that are going to go back over there. He can't get us all banned. You know what I'm saying? And then what is he going to do about the people he ended up getting banned in the first place? And I still hold to this, though I have no actual proof. Okay, but I've been working on this for a little while. He has something to do with Low Tier God getting banned. I feel like it's very coincidental that he offers Low Tier God a chance to do this thing. Low Tier God turns it down because he don't want to get no clout out. Low Tier God gets back on, and allegedly all these random trolls just come out of nowhere and get him bumped off. It just seems real coincidental between the time that he tells Phil no thanks, and then all of a sudden he gets back on, which we all knew that was coming anyway, and then all of a sudden he gets knocked off again. It just seems real, it seems real convenient for Phil. It's like, oh, I can't profit off you? Well, then fuck you then. And then, boom. It just seems, it seems a little too convenient that something like that could happen in such a short period of time. You know what I mean? But then again, we'll never know. We'll never know. But then again, Phil has said it himself recently that, oh, I didn't do anything. I sent other people to do that. Other people handled that for me. Which were these other people that knew when Low Tier God was coming back on stream, on Twitch, and then all of a sudden they're all there in mass to go and get him. Seems kind of convenient. Just saying. Just a thought. Just putting that out there. And now, as you guys can see with all the leaks and him trying to take down the Detractors, at least Tevin and Snorp know, you know, I mean, the silly shit ain't gonna stop. He's gonna spend the next decade to try to clean up his image. In the worst case scenario, that he actually has to go out and get himself a part-time job in his field. Because trust me, he's not gonna go for anything less. But if any of you guys remember a very famous MisterMetokur quote about if Phil didn't do what he was supposed to do, and in X amount of years he's going to either be pumping gas or pushing groceries. I'll see if I can try to find that quote. I will try to. I know I used to use it in one of my videos back in the day, and that's right where he's at. He's not going to be able to go into his field. He doesn't have no experience. It's almost his degree would literally be obsolete at that point. There's no point. Literally, there's no point. He's going to be just stuck getting whatever he can get. And he's not going to have anybody to blame but himself. Because he did it all to himself. And as long as Phil is pulling $100,000 a year, or whatnot, or, you know, at least over, I'd say, over 60 or 70, nah, he's going to need what all the debt he has. As long as Phil's making over 80,000, he ain't giving that up at all. And just pray for whales. Week after week after week. But like I said, in the leaks and everything, they probably don't even really concern him. It is what it was. It's just going to make it harder for people. He's not going to be able to do as much gay ops moving forward. But we'll talk about that in the next video, though. We'll talk about his little situation with that bullshit. And then after that, we'll go over the Mighty D video, which goes over the situation. And then that'll be it. I'll probably take a bit of a hiatus after that. We'll see. But so yeah, we still have a handful of videos to go through, and we'll try to work this all out as best as possible. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys very much for your time. We'll wait and see what some of your comments are down below. What are your thoughts on the general situation itself? Phil's failure is perpetuating itself in a way that I envisioned, and yet seeing it is still rather surreal. It's very surreal to actually see it work its way into reality. It's a string. I kind of have like a mixed feeling about it. I have a mixed feeling about it because it's not a matter of being right. It's a matter of just seeing it happen. It's interesting. It's interesting, and it's kind of disturbing. It's kind of disturbing because he could have avoided it. And I don't mean by listening to anything I fucking say, listening to anything that anybody said. It could have been avoided. And he just chose not to. And like I said, people say it's being stubborn, but it's not. It's being ignorant. It's purely being ignorant. And for him to turn around and call people brain dead idiots and call them mentally disturbed and to do all this nonsense, when you yourself are the one who has the obvious problems, you're the one who has the obvious deficiencies, and yet you still think you can lord over others and you believe that they're better than them, makes no sense whatsoever. And the very people who gave a damn about you then and now, you merely used them and discarded them. I had said that about Brightside Viking and everybody else. If he would discard Brightside Viking, he'd discard anybody. Anybody. And it's also to my understanding, at least at the time that I'm recording this, that one of another mod or whatnot was over there on LightSidePhil's stream, basically talking it up and giving his story or whatever his situation was. Apparently he's gone too. This isn't anything new, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody around Phil is to be used until they're discarded. And that's why Cat is pivotal. That's why I'm pulling for Cat. Because when the divorce comes, and it will come, and whatnot, she's going to take her just desserts. As she should, to be honest. I would hope, Cat, you would break off something for Panda. For the woman who laid down the foundation for you. That's just my opinion. You know what I'm saying? That's my suggestion to you. But that's what we're looking at moving forward, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys very much for listening in. I very much appreciate your time. I'll let this play out so you guys can catch another look at it. And I'll see you on the next broadcast. Take care of yourselves. Ladies and gentlemen, this is DSP News. Always late, never breaking. Unreliable coverage that you can't count on at GTG Network Productions. I am your host, /anchor GTG. And I'm signing off. Take care of yourselves. End the broadcast.
People that are hanging their hats on a YouTube career, it's just a disastrous decision, especially with that ad revenue. I mean, I know a lot of these YouTubers are all freaked out about ad revenue. So I don't know what the fuck they're going to do.
I would be very, I mean, if this channel ever blew up and was making me tons of money, I'd be very gun shy about making it a full-time job, because it just seems like the kind of thing you can get stuck in. I mean, with Spoonie, I've often wondered if part of the reason, like, he doesn't want to do it anymore, but maybe he's kind of stuck where he's almost unemployable. I mean, you know, when you have basically a 10-year gap in your resume, you know, and you sit down in front of some baby boomer HR person and you're like, I made YouTube videos. I mean, you can maybe spin that as like it was a hobby and then it made me a lot of money, but now it petered out. But they're going to go look up your videos, and in Spoonie's case, they're going to see some strung out guy yelling at people at 3 a.m. while he's playing a video game, and they're going to think that guy's going to shoot up the office.
Right. YouTube should never be a career. I mean, if you're going to go the monetary route of doing ads or Patreon or PayPal or merchandise or whatever the fuck you're going to do, like, that should be your rainy day shit. Either you've got an emergency in your life where you need the extra money, or if you're making the money and you don't have the emergency, save that shit up while you have a career on the side, because it's eventually going to fade away. And if you depend on it, like, that brings us kind of back to like Mr. Gout, right? DSP.
Mm-hmm.
Phil is fucked. Phil is so horribly fucked. In another 2-3 years, he has nothing. He'll have a 10-12 year gap of no employment. He'll have 2 mortgages. He'll have a car payment. He'll have $25,000 in debt and credit cards. No money in the savings account. No money in his bank account. And he'll have a bunch of fucking anime figurines and fucking video game copies for consoles nobody gives a shit about. He's going to have to move back home with mom and dad. But the problem is, by then, mom and dad are getting up there in age, and they're not going to be able to take care of Phil. They're going to want Phil to take care of them. You know, you've got all these older people, 50, 60 or so, their health is declining. He's going to basically spend the next 10 years of his life nursing his parents. And when they finally kick the bucket, the inheritance he gets is going to go to pay the debts he already has, and he'll be left with nothing. And then what's he going to do? He's going to be bagging groceries or pumping gas, and that's going to be his life until he's 80. Well, and that's the fucking harsh reality, because he's not planning ahead. Phil made a lot of fucking money in the beginning. If Phil was smart, he would have put that shit away in a savings account, in a Roth IRA account. He would have invested it in the market. He would have done something intelligent with it. But he bought figurines, and he went on trips, and he bought fucking fancy cars, and he did stupid shit with the money he made because he had no foresight or pre-planning when it came to what's going to happen when this well dries up.
He could have finally opened that Italian restaurant where they Where they sell toilet bacon.
Ron Herb saying Phil owns a house and a condo. No, Phil owns a mortgage on a house and a mortgage on a
Yeah,
condo.
the bank owns a house that they're renting to Phil.
Right. Phil needs some fucking rent money to keep that condo from sinking his ass, and he needs to be able to pay his mortgage on his house.
Well, I mean, and King of Pole did a video. I just watched it tonight. I don't know when it was, but he talked about how, Phil very obviously doesn't like video games anymore. So, I mean, even if Phil was doing okay financially, he'd still be kind of trapped in his own personal hell where this thing he used to like doing has become something he hates.
Well, people are bringing up taxes. That is one thing I will say I think Phil does properly. I do, from what I understand, and I've heard him say it repeatedly in the past, he pays his quarterly taxes, which is the smartest fucking thing that he does out of everything that he does. If he wasn't paying his quarterly taxes at the end of the year, if he made $40,000, 33% of that will come due in April. And he's going to be so fucked he wouldn't know what to do. So I think he does pay his quarterly taxes on the income he gets online. But even that aside, he's so fucked on debt. I can't even imagine. Like, his credit score must be in the toilet. I would guess with what Phil's credit score would probably be like 250 or 300. And that would be lucky if he was 250 or 300.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, Phil's in a bad place, and he knows it. He knows it. He's in much more of a panic mode than he's ever been.
No, Phil. Okay, Phil is doing what Spoony. Phil is starting to do what Spoony did. Right? Spoony got down on himself. He started getting depressed. He started drinking. I'm not saying Phil's drinking, but basically Spoony he mind fucked himself. He let himself sink deeper and deeper until he did nothing. What's Phil doing this next week? If you know you're in a bad financial situation and you really need to make the money, right? You really need to bust your ass. And you stream, you should be streaming every fucking day. But Phil's taking a week off. He's not going to be streaming. He's just going to upload old gameplay footage and shit. That's insane. Like, Phil, if you really need money, fuck your vacation. Sit your ass on the couch and play whatever the fuck it is your Patreons are asking you. Oh, I don't want to play Danganronpa, right? It's too weeaboo. I don't get enough views. Well, who fucking cares? The people that are paying you money are the ones that are asking you to pay it or to play it. So what do the views matter? The people that are giving you actual hard cash are saying we want to watch you play this shit.
Yeah, I've never understood that. When he's like, I don't want to do it. I'm like, this isn't a hobby. This isn't something you're doing. This is supposed to be your job. I mean, like when the Dark Soul thing, when he quit and he's like, I'm not having fun. And it's like, you're being paid to do it. I mean, just sit there and punch buttons for a while. You're being paid to. What
are you kidding me? Like, the way, so I have a Patreon set up and I do videos once a week, maybe more, right? If I were in Phil's situation, like, I love video games. So if I could sit on my ass for 8 hours a day on fucking Twitch playing video games and people gave me money for that, that would be heaven. Are you kidding me? Like, I'd be like, fuck vacation. I'm going to play fucking Nier. Fuck a vacation. Oh, they want me to play Danganronpa? Fuck it. Let's play all 3 of them. Let's do a fucking 72-hour marathon of fucking Danganronpa games. Who gives a shit? Persona games? Fuck it. Let's go for it. Oh, the boss is going to kick my ass? Well, I guess I'm going to have to really try hard to beat it. So it's fucking a payoff for the viewers when I finally do, rather than quitting like a bitch and then yelling at people saying, how could you put me in that situation?
You'd think people were asking him to actually fight demons. Like, he had to go into a fucking arena with a sword and he's actually, you're pushing buttons on a screen. And even if you hate the game, then just sit there and bitch about how you hate the game and get people all mad and interacting with you and have fun with them. You could just be sitting there going, look at this weeb shit. This is gay. And you get views. Like,
right, and I hate his excuse of like, oh, streaming is hard. Yeah, on election night, I streamed for, I think it was like 12 fucking hours when the elections were going on. Like, I got up to take a piss twice, had a couple of drinks, and just streamed. Like, I know it can get tiring, but it's possible. And if you do it every day, you're going to get used to it. And if you're doing an activity you really love while you're streaming, you're going to be fine. I'm not saying the guy can't have a sick day, and I'm not saying the guy can't take some time off occasionally, but If his ass is hammered on finances and he's in a bad situation like he's claiming he is, he should put his nose to the grindstone and really be fucking doing it every day and grow his Twitch audience. Because I'll check occasionally on his Twitch channel and he's getting like 300 to 700 viewers. If he was really consistent and doing the things that people were asking him to do and wasn't so fucking angry about getting his ass. That's the other thing I don't get. Like, he plays fighting games and he gets so fucking mad when he loses. I play fighting games with my friends and I get my ass kicked. I'm fucking horrible at them. But that's not the point, right? The point is having fucking fun. You're playing a fucking video game. What are you getting so upset about? Like, you're going to get your ass kicked. There are going to be people that are better than you, Phil. You're not going to pick up Tekken 7 and be a master at it. You've got to work for it. There are going to be people that have put in way more hours than you have. Oh, it's a cheap move. Oh, they're doing some unblockable combo. No, it's just that you haven't figured a way around it yet. So maybe if you put the time and practice into it, you'd get really good at it. And then more people would watch you because you're the guy that knows how to get around that shit. But he doesn't think like that. And that's one of his fucking faults. He just doesn't think.